Thank you, Presiding Officer. And let me, through the Chair, say to Graham Simpson that from my very first speech in June 2001, I have opposed wholeheartedly, unambiguously and continuously the common fisheries policy, and I'm immensely glad that we should be leaving that. And nothing in my previous 728 speeches is at odds with that. Now, I just direct something to the convener of the Standards Committee. Why do marshalled lists at stage 2 not have numbers against the groupings? They do at stage 3. So I'm going to speak to what would be, if it was numbered, Group 11, which is exercise of powers under Section 11 and 13, integration with UK government policy. And let me just start by looking at Jamie Green's amendments. That's 148 and 154. Jamie Green, in his contribution, said that we should have watertight law and we should judge our law by its content. Well, Jamie Green, in both his amendments, refers to UK government policy, our negotiating lines of the UK government, as the basis upon which his amendments are founded. Neither of these things are things that are available to me, in particular the negotiating lines. Not only that, they appear to change from week to week, day to day. So whatever merits there might have been in his amendments, they certainly are not watertight law and they should be judged inadequate. But I want to turn more substantially to Adam Tompkins' amendments. And by the way, let me just say, I'm going to say there is an amendment from the Tories I would be prepared to accept. I'll come back to that. Keep listening. That got the Tories' attention for a brief second. No, he won't. Not from that source. The key point about Adam Tompkins' amendments 150 and 151 et al. Is to take back powers which we currently exercise over agriculture, environmental protection, and in particular fisheries, because no regulations may be made under subsection 1 unless the consent of a Minister of the Crown is provided. I do.
Adam Tompkins.
But to the member for giving way. Will the member not accept that there is no such thing as taking any of these powers away from this Parliament, given that this Parliament cannot currently exercise powers in any of these domains because they are subject to EU law, and we may not exercise powers contrary to EU law?
Stewart Stevenson.
I'm afraid Mr Tompkins is clearly not much engaged in the fishing debate. In fishing, we make our own regulations, which differ from regulations, for example, in requiring landing of species that were not caught on quota. They are different from the rest of the UK. They are different from what occurs elsewhere in the EU. They do form part of a framework, and we support frameworks. That's without doubt. So, and the same would be true in environmental protection and agriculture. There are clear differences in agriculture where 85% of our area that is under agriculture is less favoured area. In the south of the border, it is 15%. Therefore, there are entirely different requirements which lead to different legislative solutions that you definitely have to have. Now, let me talk about the amendment I could accept were I in the government, and that is Amendment 122, which says a Minister of the Crown may not withhold consent, etc., where a common framework has been agreed. Now, that's fine. That's okay. But it is a simplex amendment where we need a duplex solution. In other words, I would accept that amendment if the UK withdrawal bill had exactly the same provision in relation to UK ministers' inability to act without the consent of the devolved administrations. So it is possible to accept an amendment from Adam Tompkins from the Tories, but it would have to be utterly conditional. We have joint decision-making. As a minister, I had joint decision-making across the border on canals, and again on appointments to the Climate Change Committee, where all administrations had to agree. So we've got, and those are only some examples. So, Presiding Officer, we know that the governments in these islands can work together effectively. Where fishing is concerned, And we've got to get a solution that moves us away from 60% of the fish caught in our waters being caught by foreign vessels without legal oversight from Scottish jurisdiction. We've got to get that changed. And nothing that the UK government could do, will do, have threatened to do, that would take powers and the right to catch fish in our waters away from Scottish fishermen will have my support. Not now, not in the past, not ever.